Welcome back to that conversation. And today we are going to be tackling culture versus race. We're piggybacking off of the conversation I had with Janelle. And so we're delving into it. So, without further ado, welcome back to that conversation. Welcome back to that conversation. And today we're going to be speaking with Pamela Kennedy again. And I love our conversations. And I find that most times it seems like if we always handle a bit of the hard stuff.
Yeah, funny that.
Yeah. So last week's conversation, I was speaking with my wife, and we were talking about how much we love Nova Scotia and our experience in here, and why we came, and just the difference between the bigger city in Ontario and here, and we had made mention just a little bit about diversity and how things have become more diverse, especially in Cumberland County and around Nova Scotia now because of the influx of people coming in for various reasons, right? Housing prices, just out of city life, that type of thing, affordability, etc. And how with diversity comes difference, and how a lot of people don't know the difference between race and culture. I noticed
Hmm.
that there's a lot of friction and private conversations concerning people that are coming in, whether it be from India or Africa or Ukraine or wherever, and they are not Caucasian Canadian,
Yep.
or have long lineage in Canada, whether it be of African descent or not, and that's what we become accustomed to in Canada, especially in these rural areas,
Hmm.
and how people are dealing with it. And so I wanted to have that discussion about the difference between culture versus race, and
Right.
kind of and speak on that a little bit. If we were to define the difference between culture and race, what would be the defining factors for you?
Well, the quickest definition that I could think of when you first brought this up was that race is biology and culture is your heart. And I think they're two separate entities from what I observe. Now, keeping in mind that I am of European descent, I am a Caucasian woman, so sometimes I feel like I shouldn't speak about other cultures, but I am going to speak from a person who so appreciates multiculturalism in its truest form. The different colors or shades or hues of your skin is so superficial that of course it matters, but it's not the defining factor of who you are, right?
Hmm.
Your culture, I think, is the way you see the world, the way you've experienced family, the way you've experienced death and grief, the way you experience your ideas of a greater power, or if you do, as silly as it sounds, the food, but the backgrounds behind all the different foods and so on. I think that's the most luxurious part of culture, where you tend to find joy. What values come with you as a culture as opposed to an individual? They can be problematic sometimes, and sometimes they can be celebrated. For 13 years, I was involved in a church that's a traditionally African Nova Scotian church. There was not a lot of Caucasian people. By the time I left going there, it was I'd say a 60-40 mix. It was, quite a beautiful thing to watch. But I remember having a conversation with my pastor about how frustrating it was for me, with racism and with separation and the cultural divide. But I would always say, if we only had to live on salt and pepper,
Hmm.
what a dull life would we be living?
Hmm.
But we're so blessed to have the opportunity, allegorically, to have uh, hot peppers,
Hmm.
chili powder, cinnamon, nutmeg, habanero, turmeric, curries, all those. We get to experience all those different things, like we get to experience cultures, and what a rich flavor and experience that brings to us. but we don't, in rural Nova Scotia, sometimes we're just stuck with the salt and pepper, and that's all anybody really wants.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like your allegory.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I like where you were going with that in terms of just the salt and pepper. It didn't even come to mind that salt and pepper is black and white.
I didn't either. I just thought it was boring.
Yeah, and it could be boring. Just salt and or just pepper, alone doesn't really add much of a palate flavor, and
Not much. Yeah.
yeah, I would say just to stick to the difference between the two. I think that culture is where you grew up and what you're used
Mm-hmm.
to, right?
Mm-hmm.
What has become customary, the surroundings that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
and what changed, and what has had an impact in creating, your norm or who you are, right? How you function,
Yep.
how you view life,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think race is undefined. I think it's a human experiment. I think that there's always been differences, a plurality of different types of people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes life interesting. I
Yep.
don't think that race can actually be defined. I mean, I know that you said biology, and I think that that's true. And but especially in 2025, to define what a race is would be
Mm-hmm.
very, very difficult. I'll give you an example. I'm black, or so they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
My skin is brown.
So they say.
Well, I mean,
Yep.
this is what I mean by the extremes, right? My skin is
Mm-hmm.
brown, right? Nice, dark,
Yes.
chocolate brown. That's what my skin is. But I'm called
Yes.
black,
Mm-hmm.
right? So right there, it's a misrepresentation. Most Caucasian people get a little bit darker in the summertime. Um, White,
Unless you have red hair and
unless
you're lily white like myself, then you just turn various shades of pink. But
it's
yeah,
still a color. It's still a
that's still
color.
a color.
It's still a color,
It's
right?
so strange.
And no,
Yep.
it's so dumb. And so white is everyone is some type of right. White and black is the
Mm-hmm.
extremes of the
Yes.
extremes.
Yep.
And so right there we have the separation there.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is if race was a color, then if you changed colors in the summer, then you would be a different race, which doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make any sense
Interesting.
either.
Yep.
The second thing is if is a race pure or not? Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
mixed in any way, shape, or form, then that means that you cannot be one race. You would have to
Mm-hmm.
be two races within one person. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
mixed multiple times, then you're eight races within one person.
Yeah.
So then what's a race? And who has a
Right.
pure bloodline going straight back to wherever?
Right.
No one.
Right.
Um,
No one.
and the last example I could say is that if I was born in China, then would that
Mm-hmm.
make me Chinese? You know what I
If
mean?
you were raised in the Chinese culture, you would culturally be Chinese.
But nobody would see me as Chinese because they would
Nobody
see
would
me as
see you as
black,
Chinese.
right? And
Exactly. Yep.
Chinese is not, is that a race? Because then Japanese would have to be a race,
Right.
and Danish people would have to be a race. Like, is it where you're
Mm-hmm.
from, or is it
Mm-hmm.
your skin color? It's very confusing. Like my
Mm-hmm.
wife is she's Portuguese, Indian, and black, I guess, if you want to say,
Mm-hmm.
which you know what I mean. So why is she called Portuguese, Indian, and black? Like, is black a
Mm-hmm.
place? No, it's not.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that when dealing with diversity,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times what we do is we simplify things to a point where it's easy to identify. When they speak about people from India, are they talking about the person's skin color, or are they talking about the culture? If they're talking about somebody from Africa, are they talking about the person's skin color or about their culture? And I think where there is possible friction sometimes is culture,
Mm-hmm.
not the race. Because different races make beautiful babies. That's not the issue.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's not the food.
Mm-hmm.
We all like eating the food. I think what we're conflating is culture. For example, there are some cultures that won't jive with the Canadian culture because their rules or their morals are completely different, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain places where if you and I went, that we wouldn't be able to hold hands in public,
Yep.
for example,
Right.
or show public
Yeah.
affection, and or
Mm-hmm.
we would have to wear certain things, and we
Yes.
wouldn't be as free to wear whatever we want to wear or to express the way we
Mm-hmm.
want to express. That is okay when it comes to culture, because we know that we're going
Mm-hmm.
into a different culture. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's the difference. And so when people are afraid of diversity, I'm wondering what you think that they may be afraid of, or why they're so agitated when we go from salt and pepper to salt,
Mm-hmm.
pepper, cinnamon, chili,
Mm-hmm.
hot peppers. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what do you think the issue really is?